You hit this button.
Hello, computer.
Computer.
Ah, computer Welt.
You got a computer bag.
Computer bag. So I new Kraftwerk.
Yeah, computer bag.
They start just being like, they come back and they're just like, oh, compute phone case.
The
You have
contents
your
of my
case.
computer in a velvet bag.
They're just like multi-pronged charger for my phone and my computer. Magnetic charging. Do 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 do.
12% power. Not good. Isn't
USB-C. It replaced my USB-A.
isn't everyone in Kraftwerk dead by now?
There's one original member, and I think all of the other members have been
Are
working for
robots?
them and they've been working for them in some capacity for like 50 years. All they've done is like, they whatever money they made in the 60s and 70s, they just used to like hire people to work at the studio all the time, and they just didn't put any music out.
I thought they
Like
bought
it's just,
synthesizers.
I mean, yeah, they spent money on that too. I think it's just like it's sort of like Prince sort of did that too. Like he spent all of his money just like retaining people
Yeah,
to
but he
be there all the
recorded
time.
he recorded 6,000 songs
True.
as opposed to Kraftwerk's like 20.
I mean, what if Kraftwerk all die and then there's just a vault with like 300 Kraftwerk albums in it? That'd be funny as shit.
Well, that's what I want with Prince.
Well, I mean, I think Prince was very smart to put out what he did because the vault stuff is like, okay, yeah, there are like 3 or 4 good albums worth of stuff in the 70 albums I've heard so far.
Yeah, the second discs of the bonus disc for Purple Rain in 1999 are pretty good.
True. Yeah, then the weird thing about Sign of the Times is I feel like the bonus material for that is kind of better than the album, but there isn't like 2 discs of it that are
Mm,
good. It's just frustrating. I don't know.
what a
There's a lot of it.
Prince. Okay, I guess we'll do this shit.
I'm an obsessive Prince fan, and I feel like overwhelmed to the point that I've a couple of times just had to step away from his whole catalog. I'm like, I can't process 300 new Prince songs.
I told
Can't
you
do
there were
it.
2 years where we were only allowed to play Prince in the car, right?
I think you did tell me that.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got several more years of stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. But we don't have to play Prince in the car anymore. So,
Okay.
in that case, you'd have to skip a song.
Well, I think Diamonds and Pearls, big giant version of that's coming out soon.
We played the Gold Experience a lot, but I could never play track one.
Was that like Pussy Control or something?
Yeah.
I'm just like almost half guessing. Like,
No, that's correct.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't play the Black Album at all in the car. I mean, I listened to it, but
See, that's the thing. If you took like 3 songs off the Black Album and like 3 songs off Crystal Ball and then 8 songs off of
some 80 disc
Sign of the
compilation they put
Times.
out.
Yeah, so 8 songs off Sign of the Times and then like 5 or 6 songs off of the unreleased Sign of the Times, then you'd have like the best Prince album. But he
Mm,
was just like being super weird about everything. You can put 1 song off Love Sexy there if you want.
mm.
Uh,
Sure.
oh, it's
No,
coming out. It's
the
coming out
cover.
1 week from today. The
Use
Big Diamonds and Pearls.
it just gets the cover from like Love Sexy. Use the album
Yeah,
cover
of
art.
course. Um, yeah, but I also think Gold Experience is better than Diamonds and Pearls. Really, Diamonds
Oh
and Pearls. He
God,
was like,
is that an
he
argument?
was. I I think some people consider that sort of the last good album he did, but
No, God,
um,
Gold Experience. He did have a
yeah,
it was a musicology. He had a good one later
Musicology
on.
is better than
Fucking
that
A,
too.
Artificial Age is a fucking great album.
I think 3121 is probably better than um Diamonds and Pearls. Yeah, because he was leaning so hard into working with that one like super shitty rapper. The guy
But
was
no,
always
no,
like, "Skip it, go, do good."
that's fine. But yeah, yeah, we played Artificial Age a lot. We like that one.
That's good.
That was a good
That's
one.
good.
He went out. That I mean, that was his last like proper studio album, right? I mean, there was a couple.
Uh,
There were like a
there were a
couple
couple
weird ones
after.
after, but
There were a couple after.
they were like the weird they all had the same cover, right? So they were like companions to the main album.
Well, there was that Third Eye Girl album, which I wish I'd liked better than I did. I didn't really
And
like it.
nobody liked that. That's
It
too
wasn't
bad.
very good. There, it was sort of like, whoa, I fucking would love to see Prince sort of play with a all girl metal band, but it's
No,
just they're not
Prince was
very
always
good.
like, "Wouldn't you like to hear from the sexy lady?" Which I mean, that's cool, but no, actually, I want to hear Prince.
I mean, there if he'd done like an, I feel like if he'd lived longer, then he probably would have done something like an album with Janelle Monáe, which would have been good.
Oh, that
But
would have been
like,
good. Well,
not
apparently he
everybody.
did contribute parts to Dirty Computer before dying.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like,
I guess you can't say Lizzo anymore because Lizzo's canceled. But I
yeah.
mean,
Mm,
there are like sort of heirs to his style that I don't think he really ever worked with.
right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't know. He could have done an album with St. Vincent. It would have been good.
Mm.
That would have been
I mean,
probably
that's why the Revolution was good because he was like, "Look at these sexy ladies," and they were like,
they were
good.
equals.
Yeah.
They were equals, and they weren't like people who he was just getting ready to fire. I mean, he did fire them, but
Right. I was
he
about to say he
waited.
did fire. Yeah, he waited
Not
three
before
albums.
he like had sex with one of their twin sister a bunch of times, and then did a bunch of weird shit.
Well, they were his band. He couldn't do it with his band members, right? Weren't they gay?
Oh, the twin sister of one of them.
Right. Okay. So one that's interesting. With twins, yeah, one is one
Yeah,
isn't. That how
yeah.
confusing would that be?
I saw something where he said to the band members, like, it's like I can have you and work with you at the same time. It's just
That's a
fucking
great way of
whatever.
looking at it. Sure, why not?
um, she if you've listened to the Family album, she's like I think the main singer on that. The
Okay.
the straight twin,
Right.
the one he
No,
was banging.
no, we played a lot of the DVD that came with Purple Rain because I got the Super Swank set because they had it mispriced at the Tower Records as it's a single disc version. So
Oh
I
hell yeah.
made out like the other one like 1999 I think and Sign of the Times I ended up downloading, but Purple Rain I got like
Hmm.
the groovy edition for cheap.
I downloaded everything. I kind of wanted the there, you get like the 8 vinyl edition of that shit, but I was like, I just didn't have the finances really.
Now this was the 2 CD 1 DVD version I think, or Blu-ray, or maybe it's Blu-ray. I don't remember. Okay,
I didn't know there was a video companion thing.
yeah,
The
it's
main,
a Prince and the Revolution video from like 1985 or something. It was pretty hip.
I mean, the main thing for me was that after Prince died, all that shit went up on YouTube, and it's like I'd never seen a lot of those videos because I didn't have MTV in the 80s, so I've never seen like a ton of them really.
Right.
And
Okay.
MTV didn't they didn't
Okay.
play old stuff.
I guess we should talk about Sally instead of Prince.
Let's
Um,
talk about Sally.
give it a few seconds. I'll do a proper intro.
Alrighty.
Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we're currently going beyond one step beyond. This is Matt here,
This
coming
is
back.
Mark
That's Mark.
coming
You're,
back.
and I think 2 weeks in a row in this case. How exciting is that for you?
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, all I could say is don't watch that. Watch this.
What?
One step beyond.
Oh, okay. We're going madness. Okay, that's what happens when you do the searches, the Google search. You like you have to put in qualifiers, or yeah, you're gonna get the music.
Well, this is a form of madness, isn't it?
Well, ghostly madness. I don't know.
Ghostly madness.
I've been asking everyone as they plop in here. Have you ever heard of this show?
Nope.
Okay, That's a short answer. I guess I can handle that. Um,
Wait, unless I count that I knew you were doing this show on this podcast.
no, you don't count that. You
I
don't
cannot
count.
count that. Okay.
Is this the
No.
first one you watched? I guess I should ask.
Yes.
Okay. I would I mean, I'm not saying this one was like a crap fest, but there are a couple that I think with this one it's nice to watch the ones that are in like good quality video, which this one wasn't quite. So sorry.
Well, this is the thing. The YouTube video said in the title of the episode, top 5 episodes. Also, if you look at IMDb, this is I believe, the highest rated episode of this series.
It is. Aren't you excited about that?
Uh
Anyway, no, I actually did choose this because it was the 8.0 on YouTube. Is it the favorite that I've seen? I'm gonna say no, but
I mean,
um,
this is October. It's spooky season. It's a
oh, it's a
cool
very
ghost
good
story.
spooky episode, sure.
But like I usually am wont to do with Twilight Zone episodes, I can't help but think like, wow, is everybody a dick in this episode generally?
See, I just felt like and if you see Sally, have I said the title yet? No, I did, but
Yep.
yeah, it was more just like rednecking. It was just hillbilly stuff, like
Well, it's kind of like, okay, I don't expect someone from 1960 to know how to be a parent, but yeah, don't tell your kid you wish they were dead when you
yeah,
only have
that's
one
a
kid left,
that's a good rule of
because
thumb,
pretty soon you're gonna have 0 kids left,
right?
and that's
Which
exactly what happened.
spoiler, yes. So I'll do a little bit of trivia on this one. Oop, I was about to start reading your prologue. Okay. Original air date was October 18th, 1960. John Newland directed every episode of this show. Yo. Series creator Merwin Gerard is credited with the script along with Roberta Martin and Howard Rodman. This seems to be Martin's only professional credit, though Rodman also penned scripts for Naked City, Route 66, Have Gun Will Travel, and Peyton Place. Sally was Ann Whitfield. She's best known for the film White Christmas, though she'd also do those standard TV rounds of Perry Mason, Gunsmoke, and Bonanza. George Mitchell played Pa Ellis. He also shows up in the Twilight Zone and contributed his talents to The Andromeda Strain and Dark Shadows for some nice little genre hits. Um, oop, sorry, I did a weird screen thing. What's
Right.
the guy's name? The actor's name is Rusty Lane, which I just had. I mean, he wasn't a big role in here, but I just couldn't leave out the name Rusty Lane. He played. My computer's dragging on me. Stupid computer.
Yeah, this is weird.
Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey didn't matter, but the actor's name was Rusty Lane. I had to list that. And that he was born in 1899, which is always, stands out a little bit when
Wow.
you're, yeah, that he's actually from a different century. Known for films like Johnny Tremaine, The Harder They Fall, and The Alaskans. Died in 1986. He made it quite a bit past this, actually. Okay, that's amazing. So
Yeah, he
there were
made it
like,
in time to. He
as
made
you
it long
may,
enough to see Reagan destroy the country.
right.
Good
As
for
you
him.
may or may not have noticed, there were kind of like two prologues in this one. Like he does
I
one.
did.
So I only put the first one here because I'm lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I guess you're going to read that one. And if you are disappointed you didn't read the second one, I apologize in advance.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. In his 16 years as a salesman for Unitex Products Incorporated, Ray Markey has traveled almost 500,000 miles over every kind of road. But he has never been on this road before. And though it seems no different from the others, it is different. What makes it different began 7 years ago.
Okay, you definitely were not doing a John Newland, which is fine. Nobody is, but there was you made choices. That's all I'm saying.
I love choices. always making choices. A B M C.
Right.
Always be making choices.
So the thing that I got, I don't know if I wasn't paying enough attention to the details, but that we hear like the unreliable narrator a lot. I feel like this is the unreliable time card episode.
I suppose so, because I did have to just sort of put together that the guy they were talking about at the beginning was the guy at the end because they're just out of time. So why would they
Right.
have brought that guy up if he wasn't going to come back by 5 minutes before the end?
And then it's like 7 years ago, right? But we don't
Uh-huh.
really, usually you get some kind of warning that you've now come back to the present, which the show does not do because that would kind of
Mm-hmm.
kill the twist. Um, but
But
yeah,
I
I
mean,
just
if you deduce that that has to be the case because they mentioned him being there 7 years. It's like I figured it out immediately because I'm like, this has to be the guy from the beginning. So this has to be 7 years later. So she has to be dead.
Right. Or she
Like,
just ages really well.
I mean,
It,
maybe he's dead. I don't know.
it's
It
like
was
if
like
in The
it's
Sixth
basically
Sense, it's like if in The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis had been like, "Oh, I'm actually living in the 18th century." That was the big twist of the episode, the
it would
movie.
be like if the beginning of the Sixth Sense, they were like, this man is dead. You will find out why he's dead. I don't know. That's not a great example.
No, they have movies like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
American Beauty
Fallen.
does that. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that movie anymore, but that it does it, right?
I mean, many people worked on that movie. Good for, I
Good
mean,
for them. Yeah, it
good
had
for
a
them.
real
I
director.
didn't mean it like that. um, yeah, and a good director. He was good.
Well,
I think in
there
the
are
movie
some.
Fallen,
Uh,
where at the beginning of Fallen, you hear Denzel Washington say, I'll tell you about the time I almost died," and then by the end, you find out what that means. It's
mm,
not a fantastic movie, but
I haven't
I mean,
seen
I
it.
remember it, so that
I
tells you
don't. I
something.
didn't see it. I don't remember because I
Okay.
didn't see it.
Well, when you do, you'll be like, "Oh,
I remember that
Denzel
time Mark
Washington
told
is
me
going
that
to
he
tell me."
almost died.
Yeah.
I watched Deja Vu. That had him in it.
Did you watch it twice?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mm. Well, how does it? Are you a fan of the ghost story?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This isn't a great execution of it, but I just enjoy the format. You know, I enjoy scary stories to tell in the dark. The book, not the movie.
Okay. Sorry, I'm processing. Um,
Book good,
yeah,
movie bad.
I'm trying to think. I know growing up, well, of course, both of us grew up in Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta has any particular ghostly stuff. You need to
There
bop over
is
to Charleston for that, I guess.
there is a I think somewhere north of town where supposedly if you put your car in reverse and throw flour on your car and back like roll backwards down a hill, then the ghost of a kid will be on your car. I don't remember the details.
You have to put flour on your car, like
Yeah,
cooking flour, or do you
it's
mean
one of those things.
flowers?
What do you call it? Like a ghost hill or something?
Yeah.
Gravity Hill, right?
Okay. I mean, you and I went to the mystery spot, but that's kind of goofy.
Okay. Let's see.
Everything just built
Yeah,
out
it's a
at an
Gravity Hill.
angle. Gravity Hill.
Bonaire, Bonaire, Georgia.
Oh wow, I have no clue what that is. Okay.
It's something like I think it's an optical illusion where basically it looks like you're going backwards down the hill, but you're going forwards down the hill, or it looks
Okay.
like the it looks like it goes uphill, but you're going downhill.
Right.
So it feels like your car is rolling uphill by itself.
No, I've
Let's see.
certainly heard of that sort of thing. I mean, I guess it's a matter of perspective in gravity, but like real gravity.
So there's a witch buried near the hill, around 300 yards from it. It says, a stack of stones 5 feet high in the swamp. Legend had that this witch exacted a toll on this trail more than 200 years ago. If people paid her price, she would help them cross over the hills without trouble. The locals left her alone and would only call upon her powers during a drought. In 1850, the witch died. Okay,
Oh,
just she just
that's
died.
well. That
Did
all stories end in death.
could happen. Could happen. It doesn't say why. She choked on a hot wing or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
Since
I
she
guess
could
I'm
not be
coming.
buried in holy ground, the people of the town took her body to the swamp. It is believed that she still helps people over the ridge because of the kindness the local people showed to her. Yeah, it's
So,
fun.
Glenda the Good Witch. Okay.
She's
Um.
good. She sounds like just a working witch, just doing their 9 to 5, helping people over the.
Yeah, I guess my main point is I feel like our hometown is a low ghost ratio sort of place. Which is
It's
weird because
partly
you think the Civil War came rocking right through Atlanta. You'd think we'd have a few more stories.
Well, I just think it's because so much of it, it may be that so much of it was burned down that they just burned all the ghosts too.
The ghosts burn. They're in the clouds now. So if you go to the skies above Atlanta, they're very haunted.
Well, I mean, it really depends on your perspective, but I think people generally consider New Orleans to be the most haunted city, and the United States, and that's partly just because they have more old architecture than anywhere
Right.
else.
Well,
I think that
again,
just
I
feels like
brought up Charleston, South Carolina, which is quite, considered. You could take. I took a ghost tour there. It's that haunted, I
Mhm.
guess, if you're into haunts. Um, or haunts. I guess haunts are a thing now. That they weren't. They weren't
like
such a
haunted
big.
houses.
Yeah. Like the haunts, the October haunts. The mazes and stuff with weird IP. Like
Hmm.
I was just hearing from multiple sources about Shacktoberfest. Are you familiar?
Well, I've had a couple. I don't know what Shacktoberfest is. I assume it's Shaquille O'Neal running a haunted house.
That's right, and it's based at the Queen Mary, the ship in Los Angeles or Long Beach, I guess I should say. But yeah,
I
so
mean, speaking of haunted and burning things down, I mean, he bought the Krispy Kreme on Ponce years ago, and it's burned down twice, and he just paid a bunch of money to rebuild it.
well, yeah, you don't want to miss out on your Krispy Kreme, do you?
Well, the way that things are going in Atlanta now, the reaction basically ran from I can't believe they're not putting up a condo building there to they're stupid not to put up a condo building there. So it's really kind of amazing that they just rebuilt the donut shop.
Are you familiar with Shack Soda?
No,
Just run a little Google search for that while I ask the next question, which is
didn't he have
where
a
do you
candy bar?
probably where do you think this episode took place? I mentally placed it like the Blue Hills of Kentucky, mostly because it sounds cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lake. Oh, I've seen this before. Yeah. Soda Shack. I've had one.
Okay. And I've heard they're terrible.
I could buy one for just $315. I mean, it's made by Arizona, so you basically know it's bad.
Oh, it
And it
has
was
all the
probably a
sugar in it.
dollar.
Yeah.
Probably was a dollar.
Right.
So
Now
you
it's
wouldn't
three hundred
complain.
and $15.
Yeah, inflation's pretty bad, isn't it?
But
uh
yeah, one step beyond episodes are generally said to be based on, quote unquote real stories, or at least proper legends, not urban in this case. Um, so I do wonder how many people might, I guess, like unsolved mysteries, but they've just like dramatized the whole thing, and they didn't hire Robert Stack, or John Newland's kind of taken on that role.
if you want to just chalk this up to it it is a real thing that happened, you could just say that it was a different girl that he brought to their house and she just ran away to wherever she was because of something.
Yeah, they just looked awfully similar. I mean, there's
Well,
plenty
he
of
didn't
weird coincidences that could happen.
yeah, he didn't tell them what the girl looked like, so it could have been anybody really.
Yeah, he didn't take a picture. He didn't have a smartphone to do that with.
But I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think that if that when someone brings her all the way inside, all the way home, that she kills her parents?
But wasn't she happy to see them again? I mean, which she shouldn't have been because they were horrible to her. But
I mean, maybe my experience is colored by having just rewatched The Ring recently. Doesn't that feel like pretty possible? Like
but
like they're like, no, you shouldn't have brought her all the way home.
yeah, that sounds more like it follows sort of thing. But
And
no, that
that would be pretty fun if I guess it would have to be an hour long for that to happen, but
I guess though, if you do want to be a skeptic and parse this out realistically, it is he met a very similar looking girl. She was good enough to not I mean good enough as in did not get injured enough that she could actually get away. Because if you've been sitting in a wrecked car for 30 minutes and you can get out, you might do that. So
yeah.
yeah, if we are putting the skeptic thing, it'd just be like, oh, they looked awfully similar. Did he get her name, or did he have to wait for the parents to get the name?
I don't feel like he got her name.
Okay, so in that case, it really could just be, oh, so that was Sally. Although they might have some pictures hanging around the house. But hey,
That's
and hillbillies of Kentucky, maybe they didn't have a camera.
so whose fault? Who killed Sally? You
Fate.
think her
It's like
parents it's like her parents kind of did kill her because
with,
they basically this is something I really noticed up top is that the mom was just like oh, please don't go away. Okay, see you later. Like she really didn't do anything to stop her from running away.
Well, she's
She's
very
sort of like,
much the
eh.
I fell down the stairs sort of lady, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This bruise is
Yeah,
here
but
because
she
I fell down the stairs. Because the
in my
dad, I
notes.
guess he's the one that's like, is he okay in 1959 or 60? I guess. I mean, it seems like he's kind of an abusive bastard in
Yeah,
general.
I in my notes he said she said the moms went out of her way to say something like that he never laid his hands on anybody, and I was like, yeah, likely story.
Right. It's like the, protesting too much, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Like maybe he's shovey. I don't know. And I, to be fair, we don't see that in this episode, but the language, like you said, sort of does point in the direction that this is not like the happiest of families to start with.
Hmm.
The little brother we never see. We're just told
No,
the story that he expires, and I
but
don't
Sally
know.
definitely killed him too. Everyone just killed. It's just a family murdering each other. It's like Game of Thrones.
So
That's why I think that Sally would just come back and murder her parents because that's the family tradition.
so if you see Sally, she would murder Jon Snow. That's what
Probably
you're saying.
it depends. If
I
I mean, she might hook up with Jon Snow and then try to murder everybody else,
oh, okay.
like
Or
someone who may or may not be another character I may be alluding to. I don't want to spoil Game of Thrones for the 5 or 6 people who haven't seen it.
I haven't actually seen it. I'm just saying that because, like you said, I think it's been spoiled for everyone at this point, and I'm just not a
Um,
fantasy head, you know.
well, would you be more interested if I told you that it was his aunt?
No.
See, that's what I don't like fantasy either. But literally, friends of mine showed me the first episode of Game of Thrones. I didn't care about it at all until at the end, this kid is climbing a tree and sees like a brother banging his sister, and then the guy just grabs the kid and throws him out of the tower,
Oh, I saw
crippling him.
that. I saw the first
Yeah,
episode.
that was all I needed. And I
Okay.
realized after the fact, I'm like, oh, I don't care about dragons and zombies and stuff. I just want trash.
You want to see
Give
kids
me
thrown out of
trash.
windows?
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I like the show Oz to me is fantastic, and it's not because I love prison. It's because I love trash.
How about a trashy prison, like in season 3 of
I
Prison
mean,
Break, where they go into the
dude,
Guatemalan prison or whatever?
Oz is a very trashy prison.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, I could get into it, but I really don't want to spoil that because everybody who might want to watch that should. Um,
This
but
isn't very trashy though. This is a relatively even keeled sort of episode. It's classy 50s TV in a way.
yeah.
A little
It-
bit in a Twilight Zone comparison, yeah, with this dad, it's a little bit unprogressive because in the Twilight Zone you would expect a possibly abusive husband slash father to get like proper comeuppance where 7
mhm.
years later they actually seem weirdly well adjusted when they because they keep meeting motorists that meet Sally.
This is definitely something where it's just normalized that people are all terrible. It feels like and the one of the people I felt the worst for was just the guy at the diner because Sally's just like, I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm walking out right before the rush. Also, can you give me my money? Give me my money. Like,
Yeah,
give me advance. Like,
she
what terrible.
yeah, that is, I mean, that I did feel proper sympathy for that guy because I guess he's supposed to come across. Is he supposed to come across as the mean boss? Because he's actually reasonably reasonable.
This, I think, is supposed to adhere to the stereotype that if you run away from home and work somewhere, that it's going to be a nightmare and you should go back home. But they didn't flesh that out at all. And he just seemed like a poor working guy. And it takes a lot for me to have sympathy for the boss or the owner, but it definitely did here because,
I mean, she wasn't. It wasn't a bad. I mean, in that any greasy spoon diner waitress job probably isn't great, but otherwise, it didn't seem to be anything particularly wrong with it. So
no, it's just the thing is, these jobs are jobs and generally they're not, nightmare. It's not like, I mean, maybe if this had been a brothel or something, it would be different,
yeah, that's what
but
I'll
they
say is
couldn't
maybe
do that.
showgirls is the better version of that particular trope, isn't it?
Yeah, they didn't have enough time or whatever Hays Code to do that.
If you see Naomi, isn't that her name in Showgirls?
Yeah, what if
She'll
she
stab you with a switchblade.
and lap dance on your corpse?
Well, that
Um,
is maybe you've heard the Japanese ghost story where you meet the girl wearing a mask who is like do you think I'm beautiful or whatever, mask beautiful, takes off the mask and is horribly scarred, and if you flip out she murders you or something.
oh, that sounds like a wonderfully passive aggressive ghost story, just like I would expect from Japanese lore.
Yeah, that's one of the standard ones in Japan. There's that. I think
Yeah.
we've discussed before, maybe not on a different podcast, but Hanako lives in the elementary school toilets.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that one. Yeah.
The other type of ring, yes,
Yes, yes,
toilet
yes.
ring,
The toilet ring.
the wax ring.
Yes. So I think Hanukkah is just annoying though. But no, I mean at the place I work, I occasionally see little kids running out screaming about Hanukkah while I'm like using the work computer. They're running
Mm,
past me from the toilet screaming out Hanukkah.
scary.
That happened like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Well, when they're
So
4 years old, you
basically,
sort of go with it.
Sally's parents are terrible, and then they don't really stop her from running away after she kills her brother, and then like immediately when her mom forces her dad to tell her that she should come back home, which I'm pretty sure he didn't mean, then
Well, he does get on
he
the phone and say it
ditches.
himself, but he's, yeah,
Yeah,
again, being pushed into it. So it doesn't seem properly sincere.
clearly not, because she just come back and okay, she wouldn't come back and he would just say, actually, I wish you were dead, thanks for coming back, but he would probably just be a kind of a
I
distant
mean,
jerk for the rest
with
of their lives.
with brother, I mean, it was basically through negligence, though, right? She just wasn't. It seems she wasn't paying
Yeah,
attention. So, I mean, is
no.
that how? I mean, I guess I don't know. What
Well,
she's probably 17, right? Brother was 10. I mean, we don't see him. That's part of the thing. Like, if he's 13, it's his own damn fault. If he's 8, maybe
yeah,
she should have been watching him a little closer.
I'm definitely being a jerk and overreaching here, saying that she killed him, but it's something where her saying that she had no responsibility for it is that's also kind of reaching. Like,
Yeah,
but maybe she couldn't swim at all. I don't know. Maybe he should have. I mean, he was pretty dumb for being in a canoe, not being able to swim. That's pretty stupid.
right. I was saying if he's like a 13-year-old redneck boy, then it's kind of his fault. But if he is like an
Mhm.
8-year-old just getting up to hijinks, now she is in a babysitter situation. It's kind of her fault for not paying enough attention.
Yeah, I'm saying if I was her, I'd feel pretty responsible, but that's me. I'm different.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only guy that really comes off, scot free here is the dude in the car that picks her up.
Yeah, and he ends up losing his car.
Yeah, well, yeah, he could have wrecked that in, in a variety of ways. Does he get a
Except,
name?
do you think that he wrecked? The only reason his car wrecked was because the ghost is not capable of being taken all the way home, so fate destroyed his car?
Do you think he's not capable of being taken all the way home? Ray Markey, excuse me. We said in
I
the prologue,
would,
that's his name.
I would assume so. I bet she's not able to. Maybe she won't make it all the way home until her parents are about to die.
Yeah, I mean, does she? I guess she gets horribly injured every time, but because
Maybe.
you have to have, but you could try and be chivalrous and carry her home. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
because she
Well, that's
well she
what
he just wipes a little bit of blood off her head and then she looks fine. So I don't
that's
know if
what is
he's
implied is
yeah
that why won't you break the curse by carrying her all the way in? But I don't know why they think that like what's gonna happen. She's gonna kill both of them. She's gonna kill her parents if she gets carried all the way home.
I don't know if I'm on your death trip on this one. I just I think you
Or
want to
she'll
make
just disappear. Maybe she'll just disappear and then she'll stop like ruining people's cars.
maybe you're saying that because we're recording this and like Halloween's right around the corner,
It's really the ring that's
like
doing
yeah,
it.
in the ring. Like if we did this in like next April, maybe I don't know if you'd be so homicide, ghostly homicidal on all of this.
But it's like if they remade this series now, they would probably put that in or something like that. They'd probably try to up the I haven't watched any of the new Twilight Zones, but I know some of the 80s ones took the original scripts and sort of put like a little bit more of an edge on them.
Yeah, After Hours I think has a more intense version in the
Yeah, I think
later.
it's like everyone, all the mannequins die or something, or something like that.
I think the Jordan Peele one has like a sequel or two. I don't think they go for a straight remake. There are
Forgot
weird
what's
sequels.
best.
Like there's the It's a Good Life. There's a sequel to that from the 2000s version, which
Hmm.
I've heard described as being the only decent episode of that version, but I haven't seen it. I don't know. So
I'm trying to think. The 2000s, is that the Forrest Whitaker one?
yeah, that's right.
Ah,
The
I have
Peel one
not
is
seen that at all.
the Peel one is divisive. What I've seen, I mostly liked. So I've seen about
Mm.
5 or 6 episodes of the Peel one, and I mean, there was one or two where I was like maybe not completely engaged, but it didn't seem to be burning the bed or anything.
Hmm. Well,
Setting the turret on fire, putting it in a
I mean,
paper
I
bag.
I still need to watch all of the older ones because I know
Yeah,
I haven't seen season 4 at all. So
most people haven't
yeah,
because
there
they don't
has to be
syndicate well.
something. There has to be something good in there.
Oh yeah, I know one episode in there I quite like already, and there'll probably be a few more because, like you, I haven't seen a lot of them.
Hmm.
I don't know. Is this a show that would even one step beyond? Getting back to that, is this
Hmm.
even a show that would really work today?
The problem is that I don't want to harp too much on it, but people complain about remakes and reboots because there's just so much content that people just will take an IP and do something with it just to be like the hook, just to hook people in. Be like, look, it's the new, I don't know, it's the new Alien movie, even though it's gonna be nothing like any of the Alien movies anybody's seen before. Um, and I don't think anybody knows what One Step Beyond is.
No, no. I mean, well, it is an evocative name, though. I mean, maybe not as much as a
Yeah,
Twilight Zone, but I mean, one step beyond. That sounds like besides a Madness song, it
yeah,
has some evocations of what to expect.
but
Like it kind of makes it creepier coming in just because you're like, oh, we're not the normal realm.
it's sort of like the golden age of anthology series. Maybe you could look at this as maybe like the Bronze Age or the Iron Age of anthology series, the 60s. But
Mm,
then really the golden age was kind of the 80s because you had like the second Twilight Zone series, you had Tales from the Crypt, you had Tales from the Dark Side, Freddy's Nightmares, Friday the 13th. What
Ray
else? There were
Bradbury
other ones.
Theater,
Ray Bradbury Theater,
Amazing Stories.
Alfred. Oh, Amazing Stories. I mean, that's possibly the best one. I mean, I think Alfred Hitchcock Presents was around there.
Oh, was there a remake of that?
I mean, didn't it run into the 80s? Am I crazy?
I feel maybe I felt like it was a mid 50s to mid 60s things, but you could be correct because I haven't seen much of that particular show, even though I'm a
Mm-hmm.
fan of his movies. I haven't
That
seen the
was a
show
big
much.
thing when I was a kid. Oh, there was a no, yeah, I'm way off. That was during the 50s and 60s.
Okay,
I guess it
so
just was I guess it was just rerunning.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, they did run it. I know I saw someone as a kid.
I swear there was an Alfred Hitchcock something later. I don't know.
It just seems like a weird thing to redo because he's dead by that point.
Oh, there is a 1985 series.
Oh, of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yes.
That seems weirdly exploitative somehow. Just make it Brian De Palma Presents if
It
it's
was
1985.
okay. This is why I remember it. It was recolorized footage of Alfred Hitchcock introduced the episodes, but there were
Ooh,
76 episodes of it and it ran for 4 years. So that's
okay.
why I'm remembering it as the 80s. I mean, who knows if it's good? I don't know. Maybe
I
it's
think I
good.
just had a good idea for what should have happened 40 years ago. Brian De Palma Presents. That would have been a great one for the
Oh
80s.
man. Oh man. You can just do that now. Maybe he just comes back just to introduce some like brutal anthology series. That'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Man, yeah, that was a missed opportunity. Let me throw my questions onto this episode. The first being who in this episode took that step beyond?
Mr. The hell's his name?
Markey,
Mr.
Ray Markey.
Markey, Ray Markey. Yeah, it's Ray Markey.
Well, he just experiences the ghost, and that's a weird time. I guess the parents have acclimated
Hmm.
so much that they just live one step beyond now. Is that how it works? Because to them, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's just Sally. She's just back again. She's always
I think
showing up."
the way I look at it, that by the end of this episode, the parents have been just hollowed out by tragedy and they just live this sad existence where they
See, they seem
mourn
weird.
their
They
all their
seem
children.
weirdly amicable about it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
everyone sees Sally. It happens all the time. Like
Yeah.
they do seem beyond it in a weird way.
Well, what happened was they were super terrible and they lost both of their kids, and that probably humbled them to the point
Yeah.
they're like, maybe we should be nice now.
How often do
You
you
know,
think they have a motorist coming by? Like once a week? They just
sounds
seem
like
like,
once a year, right?
I guess they just seem super comfortable with the fact that this happens.
It sounds like once a year, or maybe not even once a year. But
So,
I
you know
didn't.
what? I'm going to put them one step beyond because they're so
Yeah.
weird about this, or so
Okay.
chill about it, I should say.
I'm looking at my notes and it says every year. So I think it's once a year.
Okay, so this has
So
happened at
this is
least
the
like 7 times.
sixth or
Sixth,
seventh.
sixth or
Yeah.
seventh time. I get,
Hmm.
but I guess that's rote enough that they're just like, oh, yep, come on in, have some tea, have some moonshine because it's Blue Hills of Kentucky. Go blind,
Yeah.
then you
Might as
won't see
well.
Sally.
Your car's gone.
Yeah, your
Might as well
car
just
is
have,
totaled, so you might as well have some moonshine, go blind.
even though probably insurance in the 60s would just pay you a fair amount for your car and
They
get
just
you
send you an identical second car like the next day
yeah.
with power windows this time.
Yeah, Gerald Ford brings you the car. Like,
That's
here you
right.
go.
Real
Straight from
Ford.
Detroit. Straight from bustling
That
Detroit,
is
where
escape
everything's
from
great.
Detroit. Come, Gerald Ford. That's my Gerald Ford
I
impression.
hope that's what he's. Wait, I said Gerald Ford. That's the
Oh,
president.
Gerald Ford here
Henry
in the
Ford.
car.
Henry Ford.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I was
I
kind of
was
trying.
like, I don't know why I
It's
was
Gerald.
thinking that.
I guess he was. Well, then you mentioned Detroit, and I think Gerald Ford was like a senator or governor of Michigan. So I thought you were like making some extremely astute connections of some kind that I wasn't getting.
I was making the connection of I said the wrong name.
Mm.
Um, I'm
Who
trying to.
deserve who deserves what in this episode? Maybe the
No,
parents don't get what they
he's
deserve
not.
because they were.
Gerald Ford is not related.
Oh no, I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
no. What was he, governor or senator in Michigan?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were on his wiki or something.
Gerald Ford. I was just seeing was if he was. Oh yeah, he did serve in Michigan, but
So
I just don't think he was related to Henry Ford.
I was making astute connections then because you were like he came straight from Detroit. I'm like, yeah, that is where he'd come from. Okay.
There are probably a lot of people whose last name is Ford,
Mm.
but anyway.
Did Gerald Ford deserve to go one step beyond?
Yeah, he did. What was it? Did he fall off a airplane thing or something?
Oh,
Is
he's
that what
tripped.
is
I
that
think he
him
just fell
going?
over a lot. I just remember because he becomes Homer Simpson's neighbor after Daddy Bush doesn't work out.
Mm. Ford takes a fall. Top 10 embarrassing diplomatic moments.
Mm. Well, Bush would
Anyway,
be on there with the vomiting scene.
48 years ago, Gerald Ford slipped and handed SNL pure comedy gold. Really, it's
Right.
like that's all it took back then.
Gerald Ford. Sorry, that's from the Dana Carvey show. Where I think it's what is it? It's Dana Carvey doing Tom Brokaw doing like multiple obituaries for Gerald Ford because he wants to go on vacation. They're like, well, what if he dies when you're on vacation? We need to record like a clip
That's
for like
right.
every conceivable
I
possibility. Like Gerald
remember
Ford
that.
was eaten by wolves today. Okay, we're
That
way
was
off the topic there. Anyway,
okay.
deserving wise, I feel like the parents
Uh,
maybe don't get what they deserve because
no,
they have a shattered family and it's kind of their fault.
I think they kind of do get what they deserve. I mean, I guess
They
if
get a yearly
if
reminder.
if Sally got brought inside and then murdered them, I think they probably deserve that too.
Okay, well that's your version. That's Mark's
Mm.
version. When
I like how you're kind of like mildly offended by the idea that there'd be murder in this, even though
What's
there were two dead children in it already,
yeah, but they died.
senseless.
They died through like misadventure,
Kentucky.
death through Kentucky misadventure. Yeah, that's right. I mean, they
Hmm.
weren't like murdered or something. So if they
Well,
weren't murdered, why would there be more murdering? I mean, that
well,
was
we
a
don't
car
really
accident that took
know.
her out.
I guess. Do we know that she died from a car accident?
I think they say she died in the car accident. Yeah,
Okay.
because she's on the
So,
way and then she dies.
so if every year she causes another car accident, does that
Then
mean that she's becoming more and more evil?
yes, yeah. I guess she is a bit of a Sadako. Then she's just she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
kill. She's a Sadako for cars because apparently
Arico.
yeah because the tail doesn't play out correctly if the driver dies. So
She's a Sabako.
like Saab the car. I don't think he was driving a Saab.
Sorry. That's ridiculous. You can't mix Japanese and German.
Well, I just don't think he'd be driving a Saab, and I guess he could be driving a Saab in 1960. I don't know much about the history of Saab, so yeah.
I don't know. Do you think Gerald Ford drove a Saab?
No, he drove Ford. What are you insane?
Do you think?
Well, you had to.
Look, it's got my name on it.
And it's American made.
Oh yeah, there were Saabs in 1960. Dates back to 1945.
Oh, okay.
Except now they're bankrupt. That's weird.
Too bad for Saab.
Oh, they've been
Let's-
bankrupt for
let's-
6 years.
Let's Saab for Saab.
Boo. Yeah, boo-hoo.
So the drivers, including Mr. Markey in this one, they don't deserve to total their car. They tried to pick up a stranger, a ghost stranger, but yeah, they don't deserve this.
Yeah, I don't think that. Well, you could make the argument that I think maybe in this day and age you would just say don't pick up hitchhikers no matter what, but you couldn't really make that
1960,
argument in
it's a different world.
1960. Yeah,
I think the Manson family broke that tradition of hitchhiking.
I was definitely listening to, I think, a podcast about someone who got abducted because they hitchhiked, and it was very upsetting. Like extremely. It was something like they gave her something to drink, and she was clearly starting to pass out, and then the driver of the car, the dad of the murder family, was like intentionally trying to
Hello,
stop
we're the
really.
murder family.
He was like intentionally driving badly just to jolt her around and laughing about it. It's really, really upsetting.
So where do you want to put this guy on the tripometer?
Well, this is my first one step. It's my first step beyond this one.
Baby step beyond.
I'm gonna say probably relative to the rest of the series, this is probably high, but I think just in general, I'm gonna give it like a 2.3.
Okay, I was going to go straight to. One of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
when we got to discussing was I started asking about our hometown ghost stories. As it does feel like one of those stories you just heard a lot, which I guess is how it became this episode. Maybe that's why people rate it so highly. It's just like, oh yeah, I know that story, and here it is.
It's
People
well
like that
executed.
sometimes.
It's a tightly knit narrative. It's not complicated. I'm, of course, pretty distracted by how terrible everyone is in the episode, except for the guy, the truck man, car man, salesman.
Yeah, it's just a family you don't want to spend time with.
Yeah, not really.
Let me tell you about my dead kids. That's going to be the start of an interminable night.
What if this episode was called "Let Me Tell You About My Dead Kids"?
Then I'd give it a 3 on the tripometer, but it's just a 2.
Yeah, yeah. It's just sort of it's this thing that I guess rubs me the wrong way, where the parents are obviously kind of terrible, but it's just normalized just enough to where you're not supposed to think about it. But I did think about it.
I think a modern viewer is more inclined to think about it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like you're supposed to be super thankful that, oh, they specifically said that he didn't normally hit anyone. He just did it for this episode.
it's just
because
that
he
one
was
time
upset.
that we're seeing on screen, and the only time we've met these people.
Yeah, exactly.
And
As
that's
opposed
not
to
trippy
my
at all.
dad, who hits me every day. It's like, no, not
Right.
great.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people were hitting people in the 50s, but I guess it was. I don't know if it was more. So it's just how is it?
Every TV writer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, yeah.
this thing is, Rod Serling came soon after this, and part of why it aged well is because you can kind of feel that Rod Serling didn't hate people, and this feels like maybe it was made by people who hate people.
Well, not so much that. I mean, the Twilight Zone is like an early television inkling of like a little bit more progressive thought, where One Step Beyond doesn't really have that. It's a class act, but it's not really trying to push any, like social buttons to speak of.
Well, it's like, I know I've brought this up as an example before, but the one Lost in Space episode where one of them gets transported to Earth randomly, and he's like sort of in a rural town and goes into a like a store with penny candy and whatever, and it's not futuristic at all, and it's just an angry old man who's like, "You get out of here! You're lying about foot coming from Mars," blah, and it's just completely destroys any immersion that you.
You get off my
this,
candy lawn. The lawn's made of candy.
yeah, it's like that dated that show so horribly right away. It's like at least Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek, as far as I can remember, did a good job with their going back to Earth in the past episodes, but they always were specifically like, we're in the past.
Well, you end up in Grandpa Cisco's Cajun Diner a lot in DS9.
Okay,
That's,
but I still think they for the most part, did a better job with that than
well, I wanted to go to Cisco's Jambalaya or whatever it was.
get his dad just yelling at you to
It's probably
on,
haunted. It's in New
make
Orleans.
Yeah,
That's where you're gonna see Sally.
that's definitely, but that's also definitely one of those things where I just
No, you'd
wanted
see
to hang out
Cisco's
with.
mom.
I don't think Cisco's dad hit anybody, but he probably yelled at them.
Oh yeah, he's certainly yelling. He does that as a matter
Yeah,
of
what
course.
was Cisco's mom, like one of the founders or something, or a Bajoran ghost?
And she's like a Bajoran god or something. She's one of the
That was
prophets.
so stupid. I hated that so much. That made me so mad. I hate it. Like, why?
Because
Just
he's the one. The
yeah,
one.
it sucks.
The destined one, the chosen one.
He's the Skywalker, basically. He's the Palpatine.
Yep. What is you got a final thought here? Do we do it? Do we see Sally?
Yeah, I saw Sally. I'm spooked.
Okay.
Spookt. Scary. Scary
Radio.
stories. It's
Okay.
good. Good Halloween stuff.
I didn't spell what you spelled, so I didn't get the
Spooked.
joke. Is that what you spelled? I felt like you used different letters.
Yeah, I said Spookt. Spooked.
Hey, this I could check
Ooh.
this by looking on YouTube, but in the 80s Alvin the Chipmunk theme song, they spell out the word chipmunk but without an S. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's CHIPMUNK
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't willing to
because it's
take the
8.
time.
Because
Yeah.
someone wrote that, because if it was like CHIPMUNKS, it would be a little awkward, I
That's
guess.
what I thought. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just woke up in the morning with that stuck in my head and I was like, it didn't have an S. That's weird. Okay. Um, that's for his podcast. It's time enough podcast
Yeah,
on X and
on
Facebook.
X.
X and Facebook. On Patreon, you can support us and some other podcasts we do at Podcastius on Patreon. You can hear Mark and I talk about really good and really bad movies on Films and Filth. You can hear us talk
Right
about
now, it's just good.
Space 1999 on Podcast 1999. Also, Luke Loves Pokemon. Our co-host Luke is loving Pokemon there. Hyrule Field Report. Loving on Zelda. Actually, that doesn't sound good. Okay. And the game
No,
show,
respecting Zelda.
respecting Zelda with Chase.
Respecting Zelda's
Um,
boundaries. I mean, all the games do. You don't ever get to kiss Zelda in any of those games.
yeah, she's not a kisser.
She's your boss, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I've been
Even
played too
though
much.
even though you go down a big old wormhole about how there's one bed in your house that is also called Zelda's house in the new game, but I think that's just that they didn't think about that when
People
they
can
made it.
chastely share a bed. It's happened.
They take turns.
Yeah.
No, Link sleeps on the floor.
Okay. What are you gonna do if
Yeah,
you see Sally then?
I'm gonna bring her all the way into my home with my one bed, and then I'm gonna put her in the bed. I'm gonna sleep on the floor.
And let her murder people.
Yeah, let her murder Ganondorf. I don't know.
Hit a stop there.